What's up, everybody? I'm Tim.
And I'm Tori.
And this is the Stuck Together podcast.
Episode...
Number...
8. I think.
Yeah.
Yes,
because
8.
The conversation with Hunter was number 7.
Yes.
Because I remember, because I was like, oh, that's such a good number to have our first guest on.
Yep. Lucky number 7.
Lucky number is one of my favorite numbers.
Me too. My favorite number. Well...
I always, when people are like, name a number, I'm like, 7. I don't care. They're like 1 through 5. I'm like, it's still 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope everybody really enjoyed the podcast last week with our first guest.
Yes. It was
We
super
plan on
fun.
having more on.
Yes. We have at least one more guest for sure lined up right now.
We do. We have another guest lined up. My homie, Ackland. He has his real name and then his music name. So Ackland Walker. That's his music and art name, and he's going to be on when he comes to town early November. So I'm really excited to have him on. He's going to be our first guest with video.
Woo!
I couldn't believe it. I was so excited. We got all the audio set up and everything last week to do that, and then I sat there, and you can't see it on my face because there's no video, but, you know, and I'm being conscious of there being video the whole time, too.
Yep.
Like, I was thinking about it and, like, all this stuff, and then I just look over, and I'm like, oh. I was so focused on getting the levels right because we only have 2 mics on the audio, and I was like, the room noise and all this stuff, and then getting the table in and getting us all sitting around and, like, getting the cameras right and the angles and, like, getting everything set up and making sure Hunter felt comfortable and like that he was like, you know, having a good time, and then, you know, totally spaced on hitting the record button for the video.
Yep. At least we got the audio. Oh man,
it is a podcast after all.
That would have been so much worse if we weren't recording the audio.
Although we have heard that many people enjoy the video. I think we do better on YouTube than on the actual, like, just audio.
Yep.
Which to me is goofy too, because I listen to our podcasts back when, like, but I don't watch them. I don't have the video on. Like, I do it on Spotify. Like, I listen to it, you know?
Yeah. I listen exclusively on YouTube to podcasts, unless I can't. Like, some podcasts are only on Spotify or, like, audio-only platforms. But if I can, I watch the YouTube video, even though I'm not watching it most of the time. I just like...
Yeah, and that's what some people have said. They keep it on in the background.
Feels like we're hanging,
and then, like, every now and again, they'll start watching us. Yeah. So, you know. I could flick everybody off, and you wouldn't know unless you just happened to catch that 10 seconds of the video.
Well, and you're missing out on the Grem Cam.
Yeah, you're missing out on the Gremlins if you don't listen, or if you don't watch.
Freya's very cute right now.
Everyone
tune in on the video. Oh, she's so cute.
She's all nested in a little ball.
We got a new chair back there. We got a Papasan chair.
Yeah.
Because Tim will game in here on his computer, and I want to hang out in here, and he wants me to hang out in here, but I used to just have to lay on the floor.
Well, you laid on you didn't have to.
I didn't have to, but
there, like, wasn't a great chair to sit in. I have a chair. It's my Colorado chair. When I moved here 7 years ago, I got it at the Goodwill, and it's like, I've kept it with me everywhere that I've lived in Colorado, and it's amazing, but it has a really stiff back, which is great for, like, if you want to be focused reading, if you want to do stuff, but it's not great if you're trying to, like, hang.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I'm, like, gaming on my Switch while you're gaming, and it's just, like, I can't lounge in that chair. So the chair back there is perfect, and Freya is breaking it in right now.
She is, and it's really comfy. Victoria really wanted that chair. Yep. And I was like, whatever, it's your chair, let's get what you want. But when we got it, and then I finally, like, sat in it and I was like, okay, I get it. And this is like the perfect balance of, like, kind of sitting up, kind of sitting back, kind of relaxing, kind of just doing whatever.
Yep. You can do both. You can lay in it, sit in it, or it's great. I really enjoy it. Yeah,
and apparently Freya likes it a lot. So I think I wonder who our number one Grem Cam person is.
Ooh, yeah. I don't know. Freya is a crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
She's very pretty, you know, she's too pretty. Sweet and snuggly. And
don't tell her she's pretty. It's gonna go to her head.
It's the same with Sage. Everyone tells Sage she's so pretty.
Oh my! If she was a human child, I would be like, I'd just probably pull her aside and be like, "You're ugly." I'd tell her that every like week,
just humble her,
just to level it out. You know, just be like, don't let it go to your head. Somebody needs to tell you. Yeah. You know, just because that's what happens. Like cute kids are just like, oh, look at you, and then next thing you know, they're 18 and they're pieces of shit.
Yeah,
everyone just told them they were cute.
Goes to their
18
head.
Years.
Well, and everyone is she's very friendly and gives people the cutest little like, oh my god, hi, and everyone wants to say hi to her. So she like expects attention. Like she gets mad when someone ignores her.
She does,
because she's she's so used to everyone wanting to pet her. And I hear that that's a pretty popular thing with Pyrenees because they're giant and fluffy and white, and like, you know, you're gonna get comments every time you're out with one, like, because they're just so like eye-catching, but also just so adorable.
Well, and they're not menacing. Like if she was we had a dog that big, but it was like, I don't even know,
like a Great Dane is way more intimidating than a Great Pyrenees.
Yeah, just or what's the one with the really sharp ears?
A German Shepherd?
No, they're usually cut and they have the really long
Dobermans.
noses. Yeah,
like another big dog, but yeah, it's just that she's
just fluffy and
like she has the long like hound face, like a golden retriever, and so she just is the cutest little thing, and everyone loves her and tells her how pretty she is.
But really, she's just a piece of shit.
Hey,
she's a menace.
Oh, she's not a piece of shit, but she is a menace.
I love her to death. She's not a piece of shit. I take it back.
She is so sweet.
I should say our inside joke is that I'm always hating on Sage, and she's like, really, she's so stubborn.
She's a diva.
She is.
It's
she's
just
a diva.
diva. Like it's not
complete.
She's not like, it's not even rebellion or like. I don't even know. Yeah, it's literally just a diva. Like, imagine like a celebrity diva. That is her attitude.
Yeah,
like
with the whole like, you didn't say hi to me and I'm gonna throw a fit.
Yeah, like
it's
what the fuck?
I deserve all the attention.
I deserve it. Like, you didn't tell me I'm pretty. What the fuck?
Meanwhile, Anubis is like, if something sets him off, people are like, is he gonna kill me?
Yeah, everyone profiles Anubis. Like everyone is like, most people are kind of afraid of him.
Well, and to be fair, he barks a lot.
Yeah.
With certain things, like not everybody, not everything, but other dogs, he gets super triggered for some reason. I don't think we think something must have happened when he was a puppy, because he just loses it when he sees another dog. And then with people, if they see like that, if they know the breed and they're like, oh, he's a pit bull, they'll just sidestep him or just be really cautious or whatever. And meanwhile, he just melts in my lap every day. Like he's
such a sweetie,
a tiny little harmless baby. But
as most pit bulls are, like most of them are just so loving and sweet.
Well, and it's not the breed, it's the dog, you know? And so, but yeah, with Anubis, people just, they're like, I don't know about him.
No, Frita wants up. Hello, Freya.
Yeah. Stop being a gram, dude. Frita's also kind of a diva.
She is.
Frita, can you not? No. Oh my God. Stop. Frita is climbing all over us, all up in the mics, all on the desk. She has no idea we're trying to record a podcast right now.
One of the main, I think, times that we witnessed, you know, Anubis basically being like discriminated against essentially was at the daycare we take them to. They have to have like a, you know, basically like an interview, like a test today to see how they do. And I remember when we took Sage, because we had Sage before Anubis, we took Sage, I was watching her on the cameras, and she snapped at a dog. She like, one of them got too close and she like tried to bite him basically. You know, maybe not like hard or anything, but she was pretty reactive. Like she was pretty like, hey, don't touch me, don't get near me. Like she kind of freaked out. And so I was worried. I was like, oh no, like she's not going to get in. Like, uh-oh. And once I came back in, the girl who was doing the interview with her was like, listen, like, I think that there was just a misunderstanding. Like, we're going to go ahead and try with her. Like, we want to give her a second chance, you know, whatever. They were super nice about it, and it was so sweet. And then, luckily, she bites. but in a cute way.
Frita just bit
She just
Victoria.
Yeah, she just bit me, but like in a loving way, you know how cats do. But and Sage even would orchestrate jailbreaks at daycare.
Yeah.
She was tall enough to
like I said,
push the door
menace.
open. And so she was a troublemaker. And basically they were very lax about it. And then the one time that we take Anubis in for the interview, we were really nervous that he was going to react to something or be, bite some dog or whatever. Cause he's very reactive and we didn't really know yet, like the extent of it. But at the same time, we had hope. We were like,
yeah.
Oh, we think he's going to be okay.
Well, we have to try.
Yeah. And we looked on the cameras and if anything, he just looked very nervous and like very tense. He was just kind of like trying to figure it out. And when we came back to get him, I asked like, how did everything go? Like, did everything go okay? And they were like, yeah, like he didn't bite, he didn't snap, he didn't do any of the things that Sage did. And they were like, he seemed nervous. He's on thin ice.
Yeah, they said he's on thin ice.
He's on thin ice.
He didn't do anything.
A little, and it was so clear that it was because of how Sage looked versus how he looked.
Yeah.
Like there's more of a prejudice against a dog like him. I know you guys can like see him on the camera a lot of times, but he has like the build of a pit bull and then the fur pattern of a Rottweiler. Yeah. And so he's, two dogs that have like a reputation for being kind of violent, even though they're not, they can be trained to be. They're usually trained to be guard dogs and trained to do all these things. And so people immediately see those two breeds and are like, oh, I bet that dog's mean, you know, just like how people see a golden retriever and they're like, oh my God, I bet he's so sweet. And it could be the meanest fucking dog ever, you know, like you just never know. And so, yeah, it was just very clear in that moment that they were, and I don't blame them. I think it's just prejudices that are like built in, but it was very clear.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever profiled a dog just because it's a type of dog. No. I think the dog's behavior is what matters. Yeah. And, you got to get to know every dog because, like, you could get a lab that's been mistreated. Labs are, like, supposed to be the best dogs ever or whatever. But if you get one that's mistreated, they're going to be mean. That's just how it goes. It doesn't matter the breed. Because so many people, like, it's such a thing. We've been at the dog park too, and I've heard people say, like, a few yards away, they're like, that's a pit bull, and like about Anubis, and they just leave. Like he hasn't done anything, and they just leave. Yeah. But I was looking up some of it, and apparently German Shepherds used to be the ones that people were like, those are the killer dogs, like those are whatever, and all of that stuff, but they like got their image got fixed in the public eye, and nobody thinks of German Shepherds as like just by default being scary or dangerous.
Right. Well, I don't know if that is because they stopped being police dogs, like they're not as many in canine units, or if it's because more of them were, and so people saw them more as like, oh, heroes. I'm not really sure.
I don't know.
But
I think it's just
the pit bulls are just it's terrible, like the discrimination.
Well, and pit bulls are nanny dogs. Pit bulls are like good with kids and stuff, and like I think one of the bigger things about it is that when people do dog fights, which are horrible, they use pit bulls a lot of time because of their build and everything. Yeah. And but again, it's not like they're just like trying to whatever, be mean. It's just because like if you're gonna fight a dog, the musculature and everything of that dog, like Sage would like crack in half if she was in a dog fight. Like she's just brittle and frail.
Are you kidding?
Have you seen that rib cage? It's like 3 centimeters long.
Have you seen how she reacts to things like getting close to me?
Yeah. But put up against like a properly
Pyrenees have one of the strongest bite forces too.
Look, I know
they're supposed to fight off bears.
No, they're supposed to take a bear hit and everyone can run.
No, I know they're supposed to. They're just
insulators for everyone else. Just throw the Pyrenees at it. We can run away.
You have a prejudice against Sage. She is really tough and very. I've only seen her get like protective a few times, and it's pretty scary. She she has it in her for sure. You wouldn't know because she's just so friendly and lovely. But
I wonder if part of it's like the hair too, because the pit bulls are short haired. Because that's what they do with the tails and the ears. That's why they cut them off.
Right.
So
you can't have long hair in a dog fight.
Right.
It sounds so bad, but yeah.
On this episode of the Stuck Together podcast, we talk about dog fights.
Woo! Maybe the short snout might be a part of it too.
Who knows? I'm not a dog fighter.
It's fucked up.
I don't know why they do it, but they use pit bulls, and I think that's just part of the reputation. Is like that's why people do it. I don't know.
Every single person who has ever been involved in a dog fight, I hope some really bad shit happens to you. Fuck those people. I am not even joking. It's like one of the things I get like really upset about. I'm like, there's no middle ground on this. I don't care. I don't care why you were there. I don't care like who got you into it. It's like you don't, you know?
Yeah.
The only reason is like you accidentally stumble into one and you're like, oh, I'm out of here. What the fuck?
You don't accidentally stumble into a dog fight.
That's what I'm saying. Is like you gotta intentionally be there. And I know that sounds really intense, but I mean it.
No, I know. Well, it's the same thing with like people who poach elephants.
Yeah, fuck those people.
Or like, there's people in the Amazon who just keep destroying stuff to suck it from all of the resources that it has for whatever reason they came up with. Yeah. And those people suck.
Yes, they do. Animals are equals. I mean, I don't mean that in like just they deserve kindness just like people do.
Yeah, they don't deserve to be.
Except for Frita, because she's being a little menace right now.
Get out of here. When we set this up in here, my whole setup used to be in the living room and never had a problem. Never and the like
they would
Sage,
never bug you.
No one ever came close. The one thing was that the cats would sit on the edge of the desk, and they'd push my mouse off, and they broke it, so I had to get a new one. But I learned to like put my mouse away, to whatever. But that was it. As soon as we put it in here, Freya just climbs behind everything, in through all the cables. Sage like pushes herself under the desk to sit at my feet. I had to make sure there's no cords down there. They've already knocked stuff over. It's like, what happened that makes you want to be all over this now? And of course there's like tons of expensive stuff and cords everywhere, and Frita's just like, let me just walk through all of this so casually, and just like, I'm like, please don't mess anything up.
So silly.
I do. I think it's cute that they want to like hang out, and it'll be funny sometimes because Sage does like to come hang out when I'm in here. Which, to be fair, I do love Sage, and I come home from work and I always pet her and I call her Princess because
he's very sweet to her no matter what he says.
Yeah. Well, it's just talk. I'm super sweet to Sage, and but it is fun because Anubis comes to work with me every day, and me and him are like two peas in a pod. Like, we're total bros and we hang out all the time, but he doesn't really come into the room when I game normally, but Sage will come in here and hang out with me. And so I'm kind of like, oh, like, hey, she came in here and she's hanging out, because when we're like in the living room or doing stuff, Sage doesn't normally like come hang out with me.
No, she's laying on her own, normally doing her own thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she normally doesn't want to like hang out.
Right. But when I'm in here, she'll come in and hang out. Yep. Because I'm a gamer and I play video games.
Should
we go into that?
Sure.
Because we just got the chair, your gamer chair,
my gamer
your
chair.
lounging gamer chair for the Switch.
Yeah, we can talk about our gaming escapades.
Yeah, well, I've said before on the podcast that, spoiler alert, this is a huge story. This is a long story. I'm going to go into the depths. I'd thought about saying this on the podcast for a minute, but we just never got to it. So I'm going to do it now. And it's kind of like, just brace yourself. It's a long story. But when I was a kid, I didn't play a lot of video games. Like, my brother John was the one who like got gaming systems usually, and I never really did. Not that I can remember. Maybe I blocked it out. I don't know. But I never really was a gamer, and it wasn't like necessarily that I didn't like them as much. I think I just was always like, I'd rather do other stuff, and most importantly was make music. Like, that was like, I've said before too, is like, I was wanted to be a musician for so long and pursue it professionally. And so like, I remember going over to Hunter's house actually in high school, one of the millions of times I went over there, and he was a normal person and had Call of Duty on his Xbox or whatever. And so I was like, he's like, you want to play? And I was like, sure, whatever. Like, I just didn't do that. So I was like, yeah, I'm down. Like, I'm hanging out with my bro. And so I remember thinking like, this is cool. Like, this is really cool. But I was like, I'm not going to get into it because it'd take too much time. And then when I graduated, again, I didn't go to college or anything. I was like super focused on the music, and I'd spend like pretty much, if I wasn't at work, I was like making music, trying to do stuff with music, trying to whatever. And I remember one of my roommates at one point, he had Black Ops 2, the Call of Duty game.
Oh yeah.
And that's like one of the main titles people remember is like Black Ops 2. And I played that game with him because we would just hang out, and he was my DJ when we'd go to shows, and we like hung out, and he was super into, he was a normal person too. And so he had, a gaming console, and he had some games, and he had Call of Duty because whatever. And I remember like there would be some times where, so we would play, and I started getting really into it. I was like, I really like this, but I was like, I can't let myself like, because when he was at work sometimes, I remember there were days where I would just start grinding, and I'd just start playing and getting better and like working on like my aim and like doing different stuff. And I like stopped myself and was like, I can't do this because it's going to take too much time. It's going to take too much time away from like doing music. I'm going to get sucked in. I'm going to do it, whatever. And I was basically like that with video games in general. And until like, maybe how many years ago? Maybe like 3 years ago.
Like 2020, right?
Yeah. When I got this computer, the mothership, the reason I got this computer, I had laptops that I would always make my music on. I had like my MacBook, and then I wanted to have Fruity Loops. So I got a PC laptop, a Windows laptop. And so I had those two. And then, but what happened was the songs that I was trying to make and everything, the files were so big, and all the MIDI was like too much CPU power and everything. And so I was like, okay, it's like everything would like take forever to load and to like listen to and whatever. And it was so annoying. And I was like, it's time to upgrade. And so I looked and researched into computers and doing all that. And I figured out like if I get a gaming computer, it's like basically modal. And so that way I can change things out if I need to upgrade. I don't have to get a new computer. It's like, oh, I want to upgrade this processor, or I need to, or whatever. I can just get a new one and put it in my computer. And I've already done that with this computer now. I got more RAM and put it in. But I looked at all the computers, figured out what it would take to build one, and then found one that was already built with almost the exact build that I had for less. And I was like, well, I don't need the fun of building my own computer. So I just went and got it from this guy on Facebook Marketplace. And I had been watching some like Minecraft modded videos of people playing modded Minecraft.
So fun.
And on my other laptop, Minecraft could run on that one. And I actually had been playing because I was like, yeah, I'll just get Minecraft. I think I was bored, and I actually didn't have a job at the time, so I had way more time. So I'd make music, and I had time to like go play and whatever. So I was like, the modded Minecraft, it basically crashed my laptop because I had tried to do it.
Yeah.
But with this PC, I was like, this has the specs. This is a gaming
You're
laptop.
like, shit, might as well.
I was like, I got this for the music. And by the way, the music ran seamlessly. It still does on this computer because it's amazing. But I was like, okay, let's do it. And so I downloaded it, and it's like huge files, tons of stuff. And the gaming laptop was just like, yeah, sure, whatever. And it like loaded up like in a minute. And I was like,
You mean this computer?
Yeah, this one.
Okay.
Yeah, this one. It just loaded modded Minecraft. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
This was like the nicest, fastest computer I'd ever had. And I just blew my mind. I was like, whoa. And so, but the modded Minecraft, I wasn't super into it. It wasn't.
I like vanilla Minecraft. I'm a vanilla Minecraft gal.
Yeah, I think that vanilla's right. I don't hate the modded stuff, but you really have to get really into it and learn exactly what mods are on the one that you have. And there's all these side quests and all this really technical stuff to do. And of course, since it's like independently made, they're not as like bug free and just whatever.
Yeah, there can be a lot of bugs. I liked the shaders a lot, But at the same time, it felt weird having like realistic textures, but then blocks still. It was just like, it felt a little weird. Everyone like raves about the shaders, and I'm like, it just felt off. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, to
like,
each his own. Well, that's the beauty of Minecraft anyway.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
So
I just go around and pick flowers and get lost, you know? And then you have to find me.
The Tim and Tori Stuck Together Minecraft series coming soon.
Oh my gosh, we so should. That'd be so much fun.
It'd be great. But so I wasn't super into that, and I was like, you know what? This computer could run Call of Duty. And I was like, started realizing it like seemed kind of dumb, but it clicked. I was like, oh yeah, all the console games, you could just play them on PC because like they're built on PCs. Like this is how like, you know, the console's like you have to make it to be on a console. Anyway, I got it and I was like, got back into it and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And so I got really into that. And there was one mode that I really liked called Search and Destroy. And there's an attacker and a defender team. So there's two teams. One team has to try and plant a bomb. The other team has to defuse it or kill the other team, basically. And the fun thing about that one is that when you die, you don't just respawn. And so each round, it goes in rounds. And so, like, if you die, you have to sit and wait and watch until the round's over, then the whole team spawns back in again. So the stakes are much higher. You can't just be crazy and go do whatever and respawn. So you have to take it more seriously. And so I kind of like really got into that. So I'm doing all that, and then I'm working at this restaurant, and I'm telling my friend, I'm like, yeah, Search and Destroy, like this and that, whatever, talking about the games and whatever. And so this guy was like, you know what game I've been playing? Apex Legends. And I hadn't really heard of it before. And I was like, okay, cool, yeah, I'll check it out. So I did. I watched some videos, and I was like, what the heck is happening? Like, this was not
I
just...
I still feel that.
Yeah.
When I watch it, I'm like, what are you doing?
Because it's not just guns. It's not just, like, tactical, like Call of Duty, which is, like, basically just, like, real life, kind of. It's, like, every character has special, you know, abilities, and, like... And it's a battle royale. So in a battle royale, you spawn in with, like... You're on a team of 3, and then there's 60 people in a lobby built of teams of 3, and then you're on this map, and the map continually gets smaller and smaller and pushes everyone together, and the last one alive wins. The last team alive wins. And so it's a lot harder than just like, you know, just a random like, oh, we're just going to spawn in and shoot each other until the game's over, and like regular Call of Duty. And so I got really into it. And like the aiming was really hard and I was really frustrated, but I really liked grinding it and getting better at it and practicing and whatever. And so basically I think it wasn't quite then, because then I lived in my car. And so then I put my computer in storage. And so I was like super into Apex, but then everything fell apart. And so then I had to live in my car and I couldn't play games. And I wanted to, like the whole time that like, I was living in my car, I was like, you know what would be sick? Is if I could just play Apex Legends. And so I got my apartment in Denver, and then I was like, you need internet to play it too, because it's multiplayer. So there's no like solo mode. But so I got really into it, and I got my internet, and then I just like, that was the first time where I kind of became a gamer. Like I kind of was like, I hadn't totally conceded to like, I don't care about music. I'm just going to play games and live my life or whatever. But I got really into it and spent a lot of time on it and looked up how to get better and do all that stuff. And then I found out about a game called Valorant.
Oh, shit.
And
Valorant.
So Valorant is basically Search and Destroy, but that's the whole game. And it's actually based on another game called CSGO. But Valorant... It's like Apex, where the characters have special abilities and each character does its own special thing. And like with special things, I'm talking about like if you've never seen a video game like this, there's tons and tons of random stuff happening on the screen all the time. And like knowing what every character does and all the special effects and all the stuff that happens, like it's a lot. And so with Valorant, it's basically Search and Destroy. So you have an attacking team and a defending team, and the attacking team has the bomb, so they can go to one of the bomb sites and plant the bomb. If the bomb goes off, you win the round. And then if the other team defuses the bomb, that team wins the round. Or if either team eliminates the other team, you just win the round because you can't plant a bomb if you're dead. But that's the basics, and it goes way deeper than that. But so Call of Duty is more like, it's not an arena shooter. It's not an arena shooter. It's just like I don't know what it is. But with the Battle Royale with Apex, it's not an arena shooter because it's more precise. But basically with Valorant, it's a tactical shooter. And so with Valorant, the time to kill is like literally 1 second. It's like 1 second shot, headshot, someone whips around the corner, like boom, you're dead. Like that's it. And so I was playing the game and I was like, this is impossible. This is because the other thing is when you play Apex or Call of Duty, if you move, your aim doesn't change. You can strafe side to side and you're not going to go anywhere. In Valorant, if you move while you shoot, you don't have any accuracy. So you have to stand still and shoot someone. And so it's like, basically, it's super technically like geared, and it's super, super hard if you've never played a game like that before. And I was like, started getting so frustrated, and I was like, this sucks so much because I spent all my time making music, and all these fucking kids who have all the time in the world have been playing this games like this or whatever for the last 5-10 years.
Right.
I'm like, I am like a 28-year-old fucking noob who has no experience, who loves this game.
Or this 12-year-old is in the chat being like, get fucked, get wrecked.
And just headshotting me, and I'm like,
you're just like, fuck,
just in my apartment, so angry. But like, I just loved it, and I love the strategy because the thing about it is, like, with a game like that, you can't just, well, you can mindlessly run around and shoot people or whatever. But if anyone has any wits, they're going to beat you because it's about winning the round more than just about killing people or shooting people or whatever. And so I really liked the strategy of let's go to this bomb site. Let's coordinate this. Let's, because it's supposed to be like a tactical first person shooter. And like, I remember there was one game, I don't know why this game sticks out to me so much, but we were moving up this section of the map, and I was talking to my teammates. We were on comms, and we were like, clearing angles together and moving through areas, and like it was like there was just this moment of coordination that happened randomly in matchmaking online, and we all were on the same page. We were all killing it together and wherever we were, and it was just like so cool to like have that strategy and have everything. And so I basically set a goal for myself because the music never took off, and it still hasn't taken off. But I set the goal for myself. I was like, okay, so almost every video game online has ranks, and people get way more interested in games if they have like a ranking system and ranks to grind and like level up on. And so most of them start out with like wood, iron, whatever. And then it's like silver, gold, platinum, diamond. And then usually after like platinum or diamond, games will like start inventing like weird codes for ranks.
They have their own,
like master, like asura, like, and ascendant and radiant. And so anyways, I was iron in Valorant. I queued in this iron 2, which is not the lowest rank possible, but the second to lowest rank possible. And I was like, okay, I mean, like, it makes sense because I hadn't really played those games before. But I decided, I was like, to prove to myself, because it felt like I was in such a weird position, because I was like, I love this game. I love the strategy. I love the tactical shooter aspect and like getting better and all that stuff. But getting better at this game and leveling up through any of these ranks feels absolutely impossible. And I would just lose game after game after game. And just like, I had no impact on the game, and I was horrible, but I loved it. And I was like, I'm going to set a goal for myself. If I could reach gold, rank gold, then that would prove to myself that I can achieve impossible goals that I set for myself. Which you, dear listener, who might be listening or watching right now, that might sound really dumb. But if you haven't played Valorant or a game like that before, it's I like go play it and tell me what you think because it's absolutely crazy.
I tried once and I freaked out and I had a panic attack and I couldn't play.
You got through like half a round.
I couldn't do it. I was like, no, I can't do games like that.
Yeah, which is fine. And then some people are like more built for that. They're like just naturally better at that, and some people aren't. But it's pretty hard. But that was the goal that I set, was to get to gold. It wasn't to get to the top rank. It wasn't to get to whatever. I was like, you know what? Let's get to gold. And so
yeah, because how many ranks are above that? Like just the not gold 1, 2, and 3, but
yeah, after gold is platinum, then diamond, then immortal, and then radiant. Mm-hmm. And then since I started playing, they added ascendant in there. I think right before immortal. But
so yeah, you set this goal that like felt impossible, but you also, it was like kind of in the middle ground a little bit.
It was kind of in the middle, and I think the thing that the biggest thing about it was like, this is a goal for me.
Yeah. Because
I am who I am, and I'm not some, I'm not a whiz kid who's been playing games like this for forever or whatever. Like, I'm not a Zoomer. I don't know if they're just naturally better because they were born with an iPad in their hands, but I couldn't do it. And so for me, it was like, if I can get better at this game and do this, this is going to prove to myself that I can reach my goals. I could set goals and reach them. And so,
well, I think it's important. Sorry to interrupt, but just to like, when you're setting goals for yourself, like not making them like actually unattainable. Yeah. Like in the sense of like when someone's like, like setting the goal of like, I'm going to be in like the top 5% of Valorant players in Radiant or Ascendant or whatever. It's like, okay, well, like it's more of like setting, you could get there eventually, but I think there is something to be said about like still celebrating like in between, and like a goal that, what?
I completely disagree because of the goal that I set. I think if you set a goal and if you focus on that goal, you can reach it.
Well,
as long as it's like physically possible, I think you can do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, and that's like the thing that I learned from doing this game and from doing this thing was that, just like you said, like being like, well, let's not do this. It was like this literally reaching gold itself was impossible. And there are people who are top 5%, who are whatever. And I think I think that's what the story I want to tell people after this is like, if you have a goal, just set it and don't give up. Because I gave up. I think it was like 3 weeks later, I uninstalled the game and was like, I'm done. I literally can't do this, And so, and then I was like, no, I set this goal. I'm going to do it. And then I uninstalled the game again months and months later because I was still working on it. And I came home from work, kept grinding, kept practicing, kept whatever. And then I made it up to silver. And I was like, no, there's bronze. So I made it to bronze. And then I was like in bronze for forever. And I was like, this is brutal. Like, this is horrible. And then I finally made it to silver. And I was like, wow. I can't believe I even made it this far. And long story short, it took me a year and a half of grinding this game and practicing almost every day to get to where I finally reached gold. And I did it. And I'm not trying to shut you down by saying that. I just think that that's kind of like the goals that it just depends on what you want, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, you don't have to, like, set a goal to be the best of the best to feel accomplished.
Well, and I get what you're saying, like, to say, like, I'm going to be the number one player in the world definitively or whatever, it would be really, really, really hard to reach.
Well, I'm not saying you can't. It's just, like...
Well, what are you saying? I cut you off. I was being dramatic. What were you saying?
Oh, hi, Scout. Hi. Yep. Oh, ow. No, I was just saying, like, stop. Hi. Yeah. Oh, ow, 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 ow. Oh my God. Get up. Jesus. I bet they can hear her. Hi.
Scout's here. She just dug her claws into Victoria's thigh and used that as a grip to climb into her lap. And now she is climbing all over us. I don't know why both cats decided to interfere with the podcast tonight.
I really hope you guys could hear that little purr from her. Do you want to meow?
Scout came in and was like, I want to talk about Valorant.
She just hit. Oh.
Scout. Uh-huh.
Hi, honey. Yeah.
Can you... Yeah. I told you, she
Kitty
wants to talk about Valorant.
Here, come here. You're so sweet, Scout.
Yeah, come here.
Oh, she wants to sniff your mic.
Yep, she has something to say. She said, I want to be on the podcast today.
She's like, fuck both of your opinions. This is my show.
What do you think about reaching impossible goals, Scout?
Wow, that was insightful.
Well spoken.
Oh my God. I'm going to cry. Oh my God.
She did it too. She got right up to the mic. She was like, I'm going to let you know.
Scout, how's it going?
We made sure and fed them before the podcast this time. So
they're well fed. They're not hungry. They're just being little love bugs. Yeah, I know. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Scout actually is she's kind of skittish, but
she's been doing great lately.
Yeah, Freya normally is always like, oh, I'll lay in your lap. Oh, I'll get close. Oh, I'll hang out. Scout loves pets, but she doesn't like being picked up. She's not going to come lay in your lap. Like, she doesn't lay in either of our laps. But there was one night recently where she actually came over and snuggled with me for the first time ever.
She like full on, kind of like how you guys saw her do right here where I was like holding her and she was just vibing. Like, she did that with him. Yeah. But for a long time.
She came on the couch and laid with me and snuggled, and I was like, what?
Full on snuggle.
It was insane because she does not do that.
She'll like lay on your legs sometimes, or like, but it's for like very short periods of time. She really just wants pets. Like, she does not snuggle.
Right.
And so, or yeah, she'll just kind of like lay on top of you. You know, yeah. It's like, yeah, she was biting the mic. But yeah, she's never, yeah, it was so adorable. She was just loving it. Hi. Yeah. No, regarding goals and stuff, from my personal experience, I've always set the bar so high for myself, and I'm really hard on myself. And, I think I don't know. I like the idea of like that your perception of impossible can be different than someone else's, or like your perception of like the best thing ever can be different. And so like, just because, you know, maybe, for like one of those 12-year-old crazy gamer Zoomers, they're like, I got into gold like a weekend, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know, like whatever.
Well, people have said that to me.
Yeah, it's like people, because everyone's idea of goals is different. And so I like setting the goal however you want to and whatever feels right for you, not what everyone else is saying or what everyone else is doing or whatever. Like, so that's kind of what I was trying to say is like, you know, setting the goal wherever like you think is best for you. And, you know, if that is middle, kind of like the middle of everything, which we did look though, and it's the highest saturation of players was in like silver, right? Or bronze.
Well, so by the time I reached gold, I was better than at least half the players at Valorant.
Yeah, so
because of the curve of the rank distribution.
Yeah.
So I was in the top half of players by the time I reached my goal.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all I was trying to say.
Yeah, no, I think I would agree with that. Like setting a goal for you. I think I just got excited about it because that's part of what I learned from the goal is like thinking back on it, there's stuff that we kind of just tell ourselves, and I'm really competitive, and I know you are too. You can get really competitive,
depending on the thing, but
and just like being a competitive person and feeling like whether or not you can achieve something or do something, for me personally, feels like that's a big part of like who I am. when I could not get there and could not do it, it really started to like weigh on who I felt like I was as a person, which again, if that's not your personality type, that sounds dumb. Because I know there's people out there who like their goal in life is to have as much fun as possible. And that's just not me. Like, I think that's kind of dumb, but you know, everybody's different.
Well, and I had a hard time relating a lot of the time. There were things I could relate to.
Well, you told me I should stop.
I did. I was
you
like,
encouraged me. You were like, this is weighing too much on you.
Yeah, because I'm not. I was told for a lot of my life that I like couldn't quit things, and like all of our Grems are just
they're acting up
Sage,
today.
Believe it or not, is the only one who hasn't caused trouble.
She did it before we started, though.
She did. She was being so cute. She was like resting her head, but
everyone has wanted to be on the
crazy.
podcast tonight.
Yeah. No, but I was pushed really, really hard, like, and not saying that you weren't. That's not what I'm saying. It's just for me, I responded to it in a different way than you. Like I was pushed really hard. The standards were really high, like just from a lot of different people in my life, you know.
Well, knowing when to quit is a big thing too.
Yeah, and so when I was old enough to like have my own agency, I was like, you know what? If something isn't making me like, and I don't want to say happy because that's not it, but if something is making me feel worse more time than it's making me feel better or like accomplished or like just good about myself, like then I really got to consider if it's worth it. Even if I made a commitment, even if, you know, whatever. And so I could see how hard it was for you, and it didn't have anything to do with it being a video game or, you know, anything like that. Like, cause it was a serious goal. It was just more of like, you know, it's okay if you don't. Like it was more of because I feel like I had very few people in my life being like, it's okay if you don't do this. Like, it's okay if you stop, you know? And so I just wanted to like be like, hey, like no one's going to hold it against you if you like decide not to do this, you know, that kind of thing. But then I knew it was really important to you and you really established that it was important. So I didn't want to be like, you need to stop doing this. 'Cause it wasn't about like, you know, I don't want to deal with it or like blah, blah, blah. It was nothing to do with that. It was just, I didn't want like, you know, I didn't want it to affect you so negatively, but it was made pretty clear that like, if you stopped, it would have affected you more negatively. And I know what that's like too, where it's like, I like the impulse in me wants to just quit right now and give up. But I know that if I do, then I'll be really, really upset about it later. You know, that kind of attitude as well.
I think it's hard to tell. It can be hard to tell sometimes if a goal or something that you're doing is like, do I need to suck it up and finish this? Do I need to suck it up and do this? Mm-hmm. Or is this not worth it? Yeah. And for every person, for everything, I think the line for that's different. And it's important to know that because it is important not to give up on you know, important stuff and certain things. But you are right. There are some things where it's like, you know, I'm banging my head against the wall and this isn't productive. It's not going anywhere and it's not useful or whatever. Yeah. I need to stop.
Well, and I should say, like, I'm glad that I was pushed so hard. I think it helped me in like a lot of ways. And I think it helped you be the person you are too, you know, being pushed and having things expected of you and, you know, just taking like, you know, just being very serious about goals and everything. And so I think that it made us like better people. But yeah, when those standards are set so high, it makes it really, really hard to like distinguish, because your self-worth is so wrapped up in it that it's like really hard to like really judge if something is good for you or not.
Yeah. Well, and, ever since I said it on podcast number 1, I've felt super self-conscious about it because I was like, I'm smart, but cause we were talking about whatever. Because I'm like,
I'll say I'm smart.
Fucking idiot who would just be like, I'm a smart person. Like, you sound like a fucking asshole. But on paper or whatever, like, I got into the gifted program in school, and I would go to higher grades for certain classes, and I'd have like extra work because I was literally bored.
It was so harmful. I think that fucked
me
up.
but the thing is whether or not I was, so what I'm getting at is when those things would happen, I didn't have to study. I didn't have to be like, I'm really bad at English. Let's work on it. Like, it was like, yeah, here's your test back. And, oh, yeah, I got 100 or whatever. Like, no big deal. Like, I could just chill and be good at everything in school. And so I didn't have to study or work at anything because I would just sit in class. I'd see them do it on the board. And I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And I just do my homework and just do my tests. And I just I remember it was like junior or senior year in high school. I got my first B ever. And my dad was like, what is this? And I was like, I don't know. I was like over at life at that point, but it took me till then to naturally just get a B. And like, you know, I know. So the point is I realized over time and through things like Valorant that it sounds dumb, but psychologically as a kid, if you're just naturally good at everything, if you can't pick up something and just be good at it, you either disregard it or like your world starts crumbling because you like don't get it. It's like, why can't I? And you know, any normal sane person would just be like, oh, let me practice and I'll get better. But for me, it was like, didn't compute kind of, because I never had to go through the experience of like, I have to actually get better at this. And so anyways, it took me a year and a half of grinding this game to get to gold. And I think like I just wanted to share like some of the stuff that I felt like I learned through it. And basically like feeling like every game was super important. And when I would lose a game, I'd get really emotional and I'd get really distraught. And looking back, everything makes sense, of course, because it doesn't make sense when you're in it as much as when you can go back and look at everything and you're like, oh yeah, I was doing this. I was heading this way. Like all the dots connect everything when I look back at it. But when you're in it, something could feel impossible or it could feel like nothing's happening or it could feel like there's no work or whatever. And I think one thing that I've learned from that experience and that I try and do now is like, you know, we can't get caught up on this one time or this one thing or this whatever. It's like we have to keep building and keep practicing and keep working towards something. And if you set your goal and keep actively pursuing your goal, you're going to reach it. It just takes that, you know, almost like belief and faith. Because like I said, I gave up multiple times and then I still was like, no, I'm doing it. And I would guys, I would practice for like an hour every day in the shooting range on the game. Like I wouldn't even be playing the actual game. I'd just practice. Yeah. And I bought a subscription to a service that teaches the game. I like committed to learning how to play the game, how to rotate, how each of the characters works, how everything works. Like I sunk days. And not only that, but I was gonna get into the hours. Total I only have like 700 or 800. I have 800 hours in Valorant, so I didn't even hit 1,000 hours, but I hit 800 hours in that game over the span of that year and a half, grinding it and getting better. And just being able to not take the small losses and the small defeats in lieu of like the bigger picture is like super huge and super important. And because when you feel like you just continue to keep failing at something, it makes it really hard to keep going. And there's like, I do think that there's an element of like, kind of like faith of like, I know this is going to happen. I have to keep working towards this thing I can't see because I know it's going to be there if I keep doing the right stuff in the right order and the whatever. And so that was Valorant. And then when I was done, I kind of really fell off because I was over the game because I played it so
you were
much.
Like, I'm done.
But yeah, so I played, and then when I got done with that, I was like kind of looking for something new, and me and Victoria both had Magic the Gathering cards laying around, and I was like, we should learn how to play this game. And so we got super into that.
And we're very into it.
Yeah, we're very into it, and there's a digital game of that, and then of course you play in paper too. So I got into that, and Unfortunately, I chose to play one of the most expensive formats where one deck costs like $1,300.
It's called Modern.
It's horrific.
It's I've played quite a few times now too, and it's the Valorant equivalent of Magic, because I've heard from a lot of people how infuriating Valorant is, just because it's so hard. But that the harder something is, the more rewarding it is when you do well.
Right.
And so, of course, it's that like almost like addictive, like, oh, like next time.
Yeah, because when you do it, it's
when you win in Modern, it is, oh man, it feels so good.
I'll go play. I haven't been in a while because, again, I haven't been in a while, but I would go play way more than Victoria. But we would both go play at a local game store, and it's super fun. The guys are super cool to play with, but also very competitive.
Yes.
It's very competitive, and it's like turn 3, somebody could win.
Yeah.
So like you're drawing randomly from your deck of 60 cards, and that's one thing about that game that kind of started to piss me off, was like, if I don't draw the right cards, I can't win.
Yeah.
Whereas like if
it's very luck based for sure.
So we got into that, and then recently, within the last month or two, I found another game that I really started to like called Naraka, and it's another battle royale, but it's a melee. So like kind of like if people know like Marvel vs. Capcom or Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. So it's kind of like a fighting game, but it's a battle royale, and you can play solos. So you don't have to be on a team, because that was one of the other things, was like my teammates suck or whatever, and it's like, how am I supposed to get better and rank up in this game when I'm with 4 random people on the internet every time? And like part of it has to deal with them. So I got super into that game recently, and it's super, super fun. And I think I'm kind of like, I don't know if it's like all my gaming experience came into fruition to where I was like kind of naturally good at this now because I've played so many games, or if it's just like my brain suits it better. But it took me actually with Magic the Gathering on Arena, and with this game, I hit plat in like 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks. So
very
like
quick.
So like I did peak at plat in Valorant. I kept playing and I did hit
Newbie,
plat.
Hey. Sorry, what's up, buddy? What are you barking at?
It ain't that serious, buddy.
You're fine, buddy.
That's the barking. That's the barking where everyone goes, "Get your dog away from me. Is he a killer?" And it's like, no, he's a baby.
He just he's very like, he alerts. He's always like, look at that thing. He doesn't really like do much about it. He's just like, guys, I want you to know there's a thing over there.
Sometimes I've started to believe that he barks just to like be like even like hi.
Yeah.
He's just like, hey, what's up,
dog?
But he's just barking.
Yeah.
And it seems like he's like angry or like whatever, but he's just saying hi.
Yeah. So you peaked in platinum.
Yeah. So far I'm the plat genius or whatever, but I with Naraka, I don't know if I still want to do it. I'm kind of right now. So the reason I wanted to talk about this whole thing was because I got super into Naraka like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I started grinding it really hard, getting really into it. And going back to one of our other podcasts, that's partially why I think I have ADHD, because I get super hyper fixated on it, stuff, and I'll learn everything about it. And then like 3 weeks later, I'm like, I'm really into this sci-fi book.
Yeah, you jump a lot for sure. It's very cute. But yeah, you like dive deep into something, and normally they're not related. Like normally you're on one thing and then it switches to something else that's very different.
Be totally random.
And then you're like really into it, and you're very like, you're always wanting to learn, like no matter what, you're always wanting to learn new stuff and all these different things. And it's really interesting, like hearing how you think and like the things that you do, because in this regard we're very, very different.
Yeah, we are.
Like,
well, because you play Animal Crossing.
I play Animal Crossing,
which is awesome.
It's awesome. It's very, very high stakes. All right, it's my turnips could rot at any moment. Just kidding. They only rot on Mondays.
Do you remember when we were texting before we started dating or were together, and you were like, I play Animal Crossing, and I was like, I play Valorant. And you were like, yeah, I like games where I can just relax and hang out. And I was like, yeah, I like games where you kill people.
Yeah. Yeah, Animal Crossing is one of the only games I play. Like, it's like one of the least stressful. Like, I've played Stardew Valley before, and that was a little too stressful for me.
Well, there's nothing wrong with playing games to relax.
Oh yeah, no, not at all. And there's nothing wrong with either. It's just I'm like a super. Hey! Whoa! Sage, back up! No, oh God, Sage. Go.
See, this is what I was talking about, guys. She's gonna break everything.
Sage, hey, stop, get off, step off.
She's still on it. Shit. Okay, so literally every animal of ours has tried to ruin the podcast and all of our gear tonight.
It's fine. But yeah, I'm just a very anxious person, and so I don't like being in high stakes situations if I don't have to be, pretty much.
And I thrive in high volume, high stress, high stakes situations.
Literally any high
intensity.
I will say that, like, I do remember there was a time that you said that you, like, noticed that I cracked under pressure or something.
Uh-huh.
And that, like, a way to get better at that is to just experience more of it. And, like, I didn't say it at the time because I was, like, pretty upset about just other stuff. But I was like, the reason I'm like this is because I've been put under so much pressure in my life.
Well, that's not the only way to get better at high stress stuff, but I was just trying to be helpful.
Oh, I know. I just, like, I just was thinking of that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I'm not saying it, like, wasn't or anything, but it kind of made me realize I was like, oh, that's, like, part of the problem is, like, just feeling this pressure all the time.
Well, and with what you were saying about getting pushed and stuff, I think there's a big difference between, like, being in school or doing whatever and having people push you to, like, do things or complete things or stay with things, and choosing something by yourself and saying, I'm doing this, I'm going to stick with it, I'm going to push myself to get better at it. You know, I think those are way different. Because, yeah, I know in high school I did marching band, and I never got to enjoy a football game my entire high school career with my friends ever. And I wanted to quit. I was like, look, I want to be a normal kid. I don't want to have to do this crazy fucking shit every single day of the year. Not of the year, but of the football season, of all this, of whatever. I want to go hang out with my friends. And everybody was like, you're staying in band. And I did band all 4 years.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was a good or bad thing, but yeah, I got pushed to do that. So
yeah, and I don't think we had ever talked about, like, because we've talked about school kind of, but like, I guess I never, like, knew that things just came really easily to you. And I was kind of, I've said before, not to you, but just, like, in life, like, I think that's how I, like, appeared on the outside. But, like, I genuinely don't think I was, like, just, like, a lot of my friends were that way. It felt like they kind of, like, skated by. And, like, a lot of my, like, friends were very, very smart and very, like, it felt like they could just go to class and, like, do fine, and kind of like you. And I could not. I had to work really, really hard to retain at all. And I think that it's because I had undiagnosed ADHD, and I knew I had anxiety to an extent, but, like, I don't know, it was like I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but it's just, like, all of it's, like, making me think of, like, all of our differences and, like, our differences in motivation and stuff. And
oh yeah,
like, the reason I didn't finish school is because I just, like, I was like, I've tried so hard for, like, so many years, and I, like, studied my ass off. Like, all my friends were like, just like, oh, just, like, come hang out. And I'm like, I literally can't. Like, I will not do well. And so once I got to mines where it was like, no matter how hard I studied, I wasn't improving. like it was the first time in my life where it was like my hard work wasn't paying off.
Right. Yeah.
And so like, because I would study all the time, I worked really, really hard on my homework. I wanted everything to be like really, really well done and everything. And I mean, I think you can still see that in like some of the work that I do now, like at work with like graphic design and stuff. Like I'm very particular in everything. But yeah, once I got there and I had failed my first class, I was like, oh my God, like, and it literally, I like went to study groups. I like tried to get all the help I could. I went to like office hours, and it was just like, it was the first time I was like shown that no matter how hard I tried, like sometimes you're just not good at something. And it was really, really hard for me to like have that moment, because it seemed like I had kind of an like a knack for a lot of different things, and like I did want to work really hard on them. So like I was kind of naturally athletic to an extent. I really liked learning. I really liked, you know, just all of that, and I was willing to like put in the work to do it. And so yeah, I think that was one of the first things where, because there were other things where I was like, if I worked hard, I could get good at this, you know, like golf was one of those. A lot of sports were, you know, just general skills. I was like, I know if I worked harder, I could. And then I got there and I was like, literally, I'm trying everything and it's not working. And so I think I kind of, once I left there, I got into kind of a, I don't know, like a more like lax state of mind.
Well, like, and I think you need that, because like that's the perfect example of like, you know, getting pushed to go to school, because everybody does, to college, I should say. Because when you said it, I didn't finish school, I wanted to jump in and be like, she didn't finish college.
I didn't finish college.
High school.
I finished high school. I didn't finish college. I went to a really hard school to get in, and it made me feel really cool and special, and
which is hard to get into, which is a huge deal.
I worked really, really hard. And so, yeah, people would be like, you know, some of my friends got in that were kind of effortlessly smart, and it was hard seeing that they were just doing really well. And then especially when I got there and I saw, because there were people struggling like me, but there were a lot of people that just like fucking knew what was going on. And I was like, the only classes where I felt that was like chemistry. I've always been really good at chemistry. That's like one of my main things. And then like calculus up until the third one. The third one fucked with my head. I just like couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I did, but it was like I don't know if I actually get this. And but yeah, so it was like a really big deal to get in and everything. But I think that, I don't know, it was just such a weird time in my life, and I felt a lot of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And there's like,
definitely,
I watched a video the other day. I can't remember her name, but basically she was like, you feel imposter syndrome because you are
an imposter.
Yeah. And it like kind of opened my eyes. It's like, if you're feeling imposter syndrome, sometimes like it might not be where you're supposed to be, or you haven't done enough of the work to feel like you deserve that title or that place or something like that. So like examine why. You know, I feel imposter syndrome about things I should not feel that way about. So it's not like always.
That's why it's called the syndrome.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're not. You just feel like that.
And sometimes it's out of your control. Most of the time it's out of your control. But yeah, like just examining that and being like, why do you feel that way? Because it's like, I definitely wasn't supposed to be there. I think I could have done it. I worked really hard, and I like, if I really buckled down, I could have, but like there was a reason why I felt like I like didn't deserve it. And it's not because I didn't deserve it. It's just because I like, it was my intuition's way of being like, you shouldn't be here. This is not where you should be. Like, you know, you got to figure it out somewhere else.
From the outside looking in, I would say you did deserve to be there because you got into the school.
Well, yeah.
So literally you did. You worked hard enough and you're smart enough, because I know how smart you are, to get into that school. But I think for you, in your case, for your life, I think it was more of a case of you weren't there for the right reasons, and you weren't there because you really wanted to be there to learn how to be an engineer or a chemist. You wanted to be there to be like, you know, I made it into this badass school, like fucking suck my dick, motherfuckers. Yeah. I'm super smart. And then you were like, oh, wait, this is not the kind of stuff I'm into. And I don't want to have to work this hard.
I actually have to do this stuff. Like, damn it. Yeah. It was a huge, like,
which
ego
is different
thing.
than just being like, I'm not supposed to be here. It's like, maybe it wasn't for you, but you had to be there to find out. Yeah. And you did do the really hard thing of actually getting into the school, because if you weren't supposed to be there, you wouldn't have got in. That's true. I think that's a big distinction. Yeah. But before I forget to tie a bow onto the whole video game story, I was just going to say the point that I'm at now. Well, because I was refraining from saying this the whole time, but the reason why I made the Valorant goal was because I felt like it was impossible to make any sort of career out of my music, which I still haven't. But I was like, let me take some time away from trying to do music and to try and, whatever. And let me just focus on this, because this is like controllable and attainable but feels impossible. But I still knew it was possible, right? So that was kind of like, if I can prove to myself that I can work hard enough to achieve this, I can like work hard enough to achieve like making it with my music or whatever. And so the weird thing is when I got done with Valorant and I finally reached my goal, it wasn't the goal after that wasn't like, I can do this, I can make it with my music, I can go do it. It was so wild, because as soon as I reached the goal, I was like, do I want to? It became like, well, it almost like opened a door to worse possibilities, almost not worse, but like I was like, well, I just proved to myself that I can reach my goal. Is music what I really want to do? Yeah. And do I really want to try and make it with this and whatever? So, but that's why I did it. And so, now that goal is done, that was like such a huge part of my life. And now coming away from all of that, after I let myself become a gamer and spend all my time gaming, now I'm just a gamer. Yeah. Not that I'm not anything else, but now I am part of who I am is a gamer, and I love gaming and being competitive and strategy. And so I think I told you this, but I think one of my next goals might be to reach one of those really high ranks. Like, I don't know, but now I'm like, but which game?
Yeah, which game?
Which game do I work really hard at to reach that goal of getting that rank now? And I'm between Naraka, which is the melee one, and Magic the Gathering on Arena, probably playing like standard, because that's the one with the ranks. So, but I kind of had that idea where I was like, well, now that I've reached this like kind of decently high rank in all these games, I was like, should I like go really hard in one game? Unfortunately, trying to make it big with music has not really come back into my mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talked about it so much during that whole experience, and just how sometimes it really does take like taking a break away from it and like really figuring out what you want from it. And I know we had talked about it, and I was like, I think either I asked or you brought it up. I think you might have brought it up, where you were like, I don't know if I want to be like famous, like in the public eye. And that's like a huge part of music.
Oh yeah.
Unlike, being a writer or being a painter or whatever, where it's like most of the time, like you're kind of in the background. A lot of people don't know your face. They know your work. They don't know your face. But when it's music, oh my God, like you can't avoid it. It is like superstar status if you make it big. And you had that moment where you were like, I don't know if I want that. And I'm like, that is super important to think about, because that's like more than half of the job at a certain point when you blow up is just being famous.
Well, and that's what I came to realize I realized that when I was younger and really trying to like make it or whatever, I never wanted it to be about me. I always wanted it to be about the music. Yeah. And from 18-year-old Tim saying, fuck you to college, I'm going to go be a musician and make all this money and make all this music and do all this stuff, to now looking back, and I realized that I never wanted it to be about me. I never wanted people to care about me. I wanted to make music that people enjoyed and that I thought was just dope and that people would just vibe out to and have fun with. And you can be a bad musician with a career because of who you are.
Yeah.
Because I would say like there's more of a percentage towards who you are than about the type of music you make, because people make that emotional connection.
Yeah.
And like, if you think about it, whenever you see, like, listen or hear a new artist or whatever, people aren't like, where can I go listen to more of his music? I will love this music. This is just so great. I'm going to just listen to it all the time. People are like, who is he? Where is he from? Where was he born? What's his mother's name? What kind of deodorant does he wear?
Yeah.
Well, like, what is all the stuff? It's like, I've never been like that. I've never been the person who's like, I want to learn about all these people's personal lives, because that's freaking creepy and I hate it. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest probably disconnect, was realizing that you have to have this persona and you have to be able to connect with people, you to people, and then the music is like in there somewhere. And it like still blows my mind, because like you said, you can't just like produce a product or a service or something and be like, here it is, and it's behind a brand or behind a whatever, and people just enjoy it and they don't have to know who you are. It's like they have to know who you are if you're a musician. And it's so
very parasocial, very attached, like, because music has that emotional connection. They want to like your music and they want to like you like as their friend almost. It's like It's very personal. And it's like super important to realize that. And there's stuff like that you don't think about. While you were talking about this, I was thinking of I wanted to be a tattoo artist for a really long time, and in a way I still do.
She's given me a couple.
I've given him a couple
tattoos.
My main thing is like drawing and painting and all of that.
She's a visual artist.
Yes, I'm visual. He's musical and visual. Or audio. Would you be an audio artist or just a musician?
I'm a gamer.
You're a gamer that dabbles.
I'm a dabbling gamer.
You're but I wanted to be a tattoo artist for a really long time because I love art. I love drawing. I love all of it. And then one day, and I have a bunch of tattoos. I like love that and everything. But I did work in 2 different tattoo shops, had a lot of like gross experiences, just like the tattoo industry is like 50 years in the past when it comes to like gender rights and all that bullshit. It's fucking ridiculous. But not everywhere, but quite a few places I've been tattooed at a lot of places and worked at 2 different ones, and it's pretty normal to like
it's kind of a bros locker room, to be honest.
It's a boys club. It absolutely is. And if you're and I think women out there know that there are certain career paths where you're kind of seen as a novelty. And
unfortunately
I think we're working on it as a society, but it's still there. And you know that like I was like, I could go into like carpenter school, and then I was like, but I'm gonna be the fucking like girl carpenter that everyone's like, ooh, it's
right.
I experienced it at mines at an engineering school. I experienced it in tattooing. Like, it's just kind of a thing. But all of that to say, with tattooing, I was like dead set on it. I was like, this would be amazing. Like, I wanted to like live out that life and everything. And then I started like becoming more personal with artists and learning about what they went through, and like, just kind of what most of your day is really.
Right.
But for me, the fundamental thing, kind of like with you, where it feels very obvious saying it, like, I don't want to be famous. Yeah. For me, it was, I don't want to touch people.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't want to be that close to people.
Sure.
And I was like, fuck, that's like the whole job.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, like that's a deal breaker. That's, and I was like, I could probably get over it, but it's like, do I want to get over it,
Yeah.
And so, kind of those like fundamental things where those are the things you don't think about. And then once you finally do, you're like, oh, the answer was here the whole time. Like, I gotta figure out what other path I want to take in this. It's not that you're like, well, never gonna make music again. Or me, I'm like, never gonna draw again or tattoo again. It's just like, you got to figure out the way that most people do it is not the way you want to,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's tough. And industry has those things where it's like, I'd really want to do this, and then it's like, oh, but its fatal flaw is this. Yeah. And I don't know if it's that, like, I didn't necessarily want to be famous. I think it was just about the music. It wasn't about me. And ironically, the more I tried to, because I, of course, you know, when I was starting out, I just made whatever I liked. I made the stuff that got me going.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. And I was like, I'm creating, because like to me, it's like loving music so much and enjoying it, and then being able to make my own, to make what I thought sounded good, was just like, this is insane. And I still do. I just listen to my own, either my own music or like, especially my own beats. Like I'll just listen to my own stuff because it's like, I made it. I like it. Like, duh.
You're not making it for like.
But I did. You know, I started to try and figure out like, well, if I do this, it's a little more commercial. Maybe people don't like that I'm doing this. Maybe I should do. So I think ironically, the more I tried to make it for other people, the more people didn't like it because it wasn't just my expression, because I'm me. And so it's like this huge paradox.
Yeah.
That's kind of a tangent, but it's all stuff that I've realized since then.
Yeah. Well, and we're both artists, and we talked to Hunter about being an artist and how difficult it can be to, just so many parts of it are really difficult. And, you know, finding that line between self-expression and palatability and like all of that, and like, you know, how is it that some people seem so not palatable and they like make it so big, and it's just so like
weird. It's
so confusing. But then you see this person where you're like, this music is fucking terrible, or like that art is so generic or whatever, but it's palatable enough for everyone. And so it's just
they're
like
faking their streams.
that too. But yeah, it's just so many different things. And I think there's a lot of art that I want to make, but I don't, because it's jarring, like it's visually jarring, you know, or like it's something that I enjoy aesthetically, but other people don't. Like you've seen some of mine. It's very like dark, and not like disturbing or anything. I don't really draw like horror stuff, but I like kind of the more, I don't know, just like the dark aesthetic. I do a lot of like pointillism and like ink work and all of that, and it's just kind of intense, I guess. I don't know. And I want to make more of that, but so many times I like stop myself because I'm like, people are gonna get uncomfortable looking at this, and it's like, why do I care? Like, just do it, you know?
I think two things come to mind. The first being that, of course, hearing you say that, I'm like, that sounds dumb. You should make whatever you like.
And that's how I feel when you say it.
I know, and that's so we need to resolve right now that we're both gonna make what we like that really inspires us.
Yeah.
And I think the second thing is you know, as an artist, there's in almost every form of art, there's not there's not like a clear career pathway. Like if I want to be a salesman, I can go be a salesman at X amount of companies and do this and get started, and then, you know, it's a transferable skill. If I want to be a carpenter, I can go learn how to cut wood. I could get a job as a carpenter somewhere probably. You know, I don't know all about being a carpenter, but like there's so many professions where you can learn how to do the skill. You could probably get hired somewhere or start your own company and get better at it over time, and, you know, just grow with like your customer base or whoever or whatever, if that's going to be like your job. But as an artist, there's not like just learn how to do it this way, and then take it to market here, and that's going to be fine. It's like there's this whole gateway of people who are like, I don't like it, and then that's it. You don't have a job.
Well, and there's this whole hazing ritual too in so many art forms where it's like,
yeah,
you know, you got to work at a record studio for like barely any pay and like be treated like shit, or you got to be a tattoo apprentice and be treated like shit and not paid. Like it's, you know, there's this whole, like hazing that goes along with a lot of these creative
and
fields.
Isn't that ironic that in art, which is supposed to be your expression, your creative, imaginative expression of yourself, it's like insanely competitive and critiqued and like insanely like this is right and this is wrong and whatever.
Just gatekeeping, like
gatekeeping
crazy.
people, judging people. Like people back in Nashville, like it was so cliquey and just like you're not cool enough, you're not in, you're not this, you're not that, you're not whatever. Like, and it's brutal, you know. And I think I do think with every art there is a certain like baseline of like being like you're still getting better and like okay, you've got it, you know.
Right.
Like you can't, not every piece of art ever created is worth studying, you know what I mean, which is a weird line to make, but once you get it, you know, once you've got it, then it's like then it is up to your expression and people's reception. And I think that's the biggest thing is like in a lot of ways it is the same as any other product, because if you make a bad product, people aren't going to buy it. But at the same time, it's not, because you can't just, and that's what I think probably burnt me out too, was trying to figure out what to make, it wasn't just, here's how I feel and I'm just expressing it. It was like, I started like, you know, perseverating over what to make, how to make it. And then not only that, but I got so deep into like Facebook marketing, Instagram marketing, YouTube music videos. And then in the music industry, especially because that's what I know, there's all these companies that are like, oh, just pay us this much money and we'll boost your, give us this much money and we'll do this. And none of them, it's I feel like it's dirtier than a lot of other types of schemes, because they're preying on your dream of being an artist for a living, and they just take advantage of you. And I've fallen for it enough times. People still hit me up because I have my info online and they'll still hit me up and they'll be like, oh, your music's so good. Just what have you been doing with it? Are you ready to blow up? And it's like they just want me to give them $200 to do their little service that doesn't work, and then just scam more people out of money. And it's like, even now, like when people hit me up like that, it'll be like, I know as soon as I get that text, no random motherfucker's going to hit me up off the internet and just change my life. Like that's not going to happen. There's not going to be it doesn't happen. Like there's not going to be one A&R who like found my shit on SoundCloud and is like, this is the best shit ever, let's sign this random motherfucker. Like that's not how it works. But it's still, and I know that. And so when I get a message like that, I know that. And there's still this part of me that's like, gets excited. Yep. Because that's how it works when you're an artist. It's just like how it works. You're like,
you're just like, how can
someone
I do
liked
it?
my stuff.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Someone appreciated my music. Someone liked my stuff. And it's like, they don't like your stuff. They just want your money. But
right. Yeah.
It's brutal. It's brutal as an artist.
It is. It's really brutal. And
that's why I'm a gamer.
Yeah. That's why I'm a Lego builder now. I just finished one of my big Lego sets because,
it's really cool.
I think both of us are in this, like, it's the haunted house one for anyone wanting to know.
It's got an elevator. It goes up. It comes down.
It's pretty cool.
Engineering. You're still in engineering.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I was going to say that I think both of us have helped each other to kind of be in this state of like, I support you in doing whatever you want. And if that's like nothing, then that's fine. You know, like, and by nothing, I mean like gaming all day or like just hanging out, you know, just being lazy, you know, like whatever. Cause I think both of us, for a very long time before we met each other, were like, push, go. Like, you know, just such high expectations for ourselves. And so to have someone who's like, I love you either way, baby, you know, it's like, it's just very, I think for both of us, it's kind of like a nice, like just breather. And I don't think that, you know, I think that you don't have to have someone else telling you it's okay to just like relax or whatever. But it really helps, especially when, you know, we support each other when we do get motivated. And, but yeah, we both are like, yeah, that's totally fine if you just want to hang out today. We're not like, like, you really need to get up and do something.
Yeah.
You know, we've never once, like, the only time we do that is when, you know, like something like the podcast, like we really got to film the podcast, you know, or whatever. But it's never coming from a place of like, I wish you were better.
Right.
Like, never.
Yeah, we do it on the important stuff or like whatever, but we're not like, no, it's not from an unhealthy place.
Because you're already the best, whatever. Baby. But since we're both artists and we both were pushed very hard just growing up in general and had some pretty high standards, I feel like we do come from a place of empathy with a lot of things. Like, you know, you don't have to be doing something. You're not doing anything wrong just by sitting and existing. Like, I think both of us feel that a lot. Like,
oh yeah,
it's so hard. Like, I know both of us are like, if there's dishes in the sink, I'm like, he's mad at me because there's dishes and I haven't done them in the last like 10 minutes. And it's like, none of that is happening. It's all in my head. Or like when you're in here playing games, sometimes you've told me like, I can't help but feel like you're mad at me, even though you've never alluded to being mad, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
Like, it's just like
taking time for myself.
Yeah,
you know?
we're both very like other oriented in the way of like, you know, I want to make sure everyone's like okay and like no one's mad at me and like, you know, I'm not seen poorly or whatever, like and like people feel loved and whatever, and so I think that both of us just we like provide what the other like needs, because both of us were kind of deficient in that, and so I think we're just like, yeah, like it's just very sweet. And I like that we're kind of in that I feel like we're both kind of healing the like inner child right now. You know, we're very in inner child, you know, gaming, Legos,
well, and
vibing.
yeah, to expand on that for sure. I definitely, there was a while where I was like really enjoying gaming, but I couldn't just relax and game and have fun and not consider it almost like wasted time.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to be like, I'm just going to enjoy this. I'm going to sink a decent amount of time into it, but it's going to be okay. And I'm going to, you know, because that's the other thing is, you know, when I was 18, I'm like, this is going to happen. When I was 19, I was like, I'm going to make it. When I was 20, I was like, let's go. It's like 21, I was like, still plenty of time. 22 is like, all right, soon enough. 23 is like, if I make it in the next 2 years, it'll be great. I'll have plenty of time. Like, now it's like 25. It's like, all right. And it's 27. I'm like, holy fuck, where's my life going? Like, and for me, like getting super fucking depressed about being like, you know, and I was probably an asshole plenty of times when I was younger, and I was very, very confident and whatever. And I think people probably just thought I was an asshole, but I think in my head, I was like really confident in what I was doing. But none of that matters, because the point is it not happening year after year after year after year of like putting in time and money and chances and whatever over and over again. I did everything that I knew how to do, and it continued to not happen. And like I like tried, you know, to network. I tried to do different stuff. I tried to whatever, you know, I tried to everything that, again, I knew how to do. And the reason I say that is because I'm sure there was a way. I just couldn't figure it out and I couldn't do it. And maybe it couldn't. Maybe this is the only timeline. You know, this is what I needed, is to get to my 30s and be a gamer and let it go for a while and whatever, and realize, you know, that the only thing I really needed was pure expression of myself. And because I think even though I was confident and I really did like the stuff that I put out, I almost like would like hold back from telling people because I was so horrifically horrified and afraid of being judged at the same time. Yep. And it was so bad that it was this weird thing of like, I want this to happen so bad, but also don't look at me.
Oh, I completely understand.
And yeah, but
I feel like my whole life I've been like yearning to be like the center and like, you know, get the recognition and like, you know, the attention. And then at the same time, like any attention that I remotely get, I'm like, I don't want it.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing is I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about the thing I create. But
right.
And it's not like I'm totally immune to that. Like I do understand being like, this artist is so cool because their story is like this or whatever. It's like, but watching other people, especially over the years and thinking about it, people get so wrapped up in tons of people for different things in different industries, but with music it's just all about the personality and the person, and a mediocre music with a great backstory and a great way to connect and great marketing and great whatever is gonna win every time, because that's how people work. And it's like, so I've gotten better at it and I'm more okay with it now, and I'm getting way closer to like being okay with people knowing who I am and connecting with me, but it's more of me like accepting that that's part of it and less of being like, that's how I want it to be, because like it's just so hard. And like especially with people, I realized too, sharing their emotions with their music. One thing that I thought that I was really good at was being like technical. Like, this is technically astounding. Like I made music in 432 hertz. I tuned it to 432, and this chorus is this compared to this, and they link together, and the album's self-referential, and it's just whatever. And it's like, people want to cry with you.
Yeah. I mean,
people want to hear your dirty fucking shit, and they want to cry with you, and it's not about the fucking how good it is. And it's like, especially that part for me was like, people don't just want to hear this amazing music I made. It's like they don't care.
Yeah.
It's like they want to know you, and it's like, well, I don't want you to know me.
Right. Yeah. It's super personal, and like, especially just in the day and age of just social media, like, I think a lot of us are feeling it, but I am burnt the fuck out with social media and the marketing and just the branding and the self-promotion, just the bullshit. I'm like so tired of it, and like, I kind of was thinking about it because I had my own business and it like really blew up on TikTok, and I think a lot of people want that. And for me, it like, I thought I wanted it, and then it happened, and I think you might have been talking about the marketing for your music, or like, all the stuff you have to do to like promote and everything, like in this conversation. I can't remember what exactly you said, but it made me think of it, because it's like, if you're not built for that, it is exhausting.
Oh yeah.
It is the worst part, in my opinion, of like any creative or business endeavor, is the fucking social media. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't mind ads, like, I make ads for the company we work for, and it's super fun. I really enjoy it. But someone else handles the actual posting on social media, because there's something about it that just like, oh my God, it is unhealthy. It is unnatural for us to be creating content like that, and like pushing content like that, like 24/7. Like, there are certain brands where I get newsletters from them like once a week or like twice a week. I'm like, how? This is not normal.
Why are things moving so fast?
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm just like, slow down. It's like most people's skills anymore, or like hobbies or anything, because it's so easy to blow up and get famous, or, just get recognition. It's like, you're almost expected to do that. It's like, when you're a really good artist, people like people ask me all the time, why aren't you selling this? Why aren't you posting this? It's like, maybe I don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole, art was never meant to be sold. It was meant to just be created. And it's like, obviously it's a bonus when you can make a living off of it, but I think that a lot of your creativity can get lost in that. And I think with my candle company, that's because I was just so pumped to like make these candles. I was like, this is amazing, and they have crystals and herbs, and they're like healing, and they're easy for people to learn how to do spell work and like all this stuff, and it's so amazing. And then all of a sudden it just became like, because you were talking about how do I basically make things that people like. You know, it really became about that. Like, you know, you started changing what you were making to make it more palatable and everything. And that's how I felt. I was just trying to figure out what would sell for people.
Right.
And I was like, oh, because then when it didn't sell or didn't do well, I felt awful. I was like, oh my God. And even when it did do well, I was like, man, like I didn't like want to do this though. And it's just like, I mean, I think I never was a huge social media person in general either. Like my own personal page, it's always been private. I barely post. Like I've never been one to like want all that attention. And so when I like started getting the likes and the comments and the attention, like it was really damaging to my mental health.
Oh yeah.
Because I had never wanted that. I know there's some people out there that like, that's something that's really rewarding for them. And like, you know, I think that there is such a thing as like a healthy social media presence, even if you have millions of followers. But I was not prepared. I hated trying to make content that people would like. Instead of just making what I wanted to make, it was like, what's going to make these other people happy? And it's just like, oh my God, it's like so exhausting. Yeah. Whether you're selling something or whether you're just an artist creating something or creating something hoping that people will eventually want it or invest in you or whatever, it's just all of that is.
Well, and that's why they had record labels, was because people were making music and they were like, didn't know how to make it a thing. And record labels were like, we got it. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, they'd take advantage of artists, but they would handle that part. And, but yeah, also just probably today, if you are like mediocre or decent at whatever you're trying to do, and you're like 90 to 100% on social media, like wanting to do it, being good at it and not letting it bother you, you're just way higher likelihood. Oh my God, yeah. If you're being successful,
if you have the bandwidth to post on social media every day and like,
I can't do it,
really put in the work and schedule out posts and, you know, follow the trends and follow the just everything. It's like, if you're willing to, and like looking at your fucking analytics and all that shit, it's like, if you're willing to do all of that, yeah, honestly, I'd say skill is maybe like 25% of the equation.
Yeah.
Like if you're mediocre at something, but you can make a hell of a TikTok out of it, like, doesn't fucking matter.
Oh,
like
yeah.
It's so annoying. It like, and I'm not saying that I think those people are like, you know, their work is less valuable or anything. It's just that that's kind of like the only way to do things now. So if you're not built for that, like you're kind of being like left in the dust. That's kind of how I felt with my business. I was like, I can't keep up and I don't want to keep up, and people love my stuff, but like if I'm not posting every day, they're going to forget about me because that's how the fucking internet works. Like,
well, and I think it's not, you know, it's frustrating and it's easy to project on people like that, where if you feel like, you know, well, because I would do that too. I'd try and figure it out. I was like, and I'd try and talk to people and ask close friends and whoever, like, their opinion, be like, you know, is my music good enough? Is it at this level? Is it like, what's going on? You know, and that's kind of what I had decided, was like, I'm just not good enough at like the social media and whatever. But I think that, you know, not to project on those people negatively if they are, quote, mediocre or whatever and really good at social media.
Because the social media is the skill.
That's the skill, but I think that's like the fucked up part about it, is that if you're a great artist and you are not good at that or can't do that or don't want to do that, you're in a horrible position, because that's the gateway, especially now. And to a degree that just probably wasn't even the same, you know, however many years back, because social media is just this new thing that's weird. And in a way it's not different, but in a way it's completely different, because you still, you know, back in the day, whenever that was, you still needed to network with people. You still needed to talk to people. You needed to be able to communicate with people and get your stuff out there in a way that was cohesive, whether it was interpersonally with people in person or on scale. But this whole social media thing is just so wild. And I think it does get kind of frustrating when it does feel like some of it's fake, or some of it's just so forced or whatever. And it's like, you know, but like you said, and with your experience especially, just feeling like, I'm sure any creator out there could probably, content creator out there could identify with the feeling of being like, my whole identity and self-worth and image is wrapped up with these numbers on my screen.
Yep.
And it totally becomes not about whatever you got in it for, and whatever you were doing before, whether it was mediocre or not. And it's, you know, they've done tons of studies on how horrifically damaging it is on people.
God,
and especially young women, because young women care about social aspects of life way more than men, you know, in general, whatever. But just how crazy it is, and especially just sympathetically towards kids who are like middle school, high school right now and moving forward, and just like it's becoming so integrated. I was joking about Zoomers being born with an iPad in their hands, but you know, kids have it, kids do it. They're, you know, it's so weird to think about all the kids who are not going to know a life without, especially social media. Because I think
social media,
you know,
that's a big one. Not just the internet, not just technology. Like, social media is like crucial. I remember, like, I think I was 12 or 13 when I finally got an Instagram.
Which
and obviously
is crazy.
that sounds super young. That is super young. But like nowadays, it's like, that's old.
You're old. I know it's a huge topic with parents right now too, is when do they get a phone? When do they get access to these X suite of apps? When do they get whatever? And especially because, like, you know, if you know, like as a parent, I'm sure knowing how damaging it could be, the repercussions, and like psychologically, if you put any time into it, you can find out the effects of some of the stuff it has on kids. Knowing that, seeing that, and then knowing if you don't give it to them, they're going to be ostracized anyway.
Yeah.
Because they're the only ones who don't have an Instagram, and all their friends are, oh, did you see Jacobson's post? And
that's why I got an Instagram. I didn't
Mona Lisa's
think
like,
to.
I got 12 likes from whatever, and Brady liked it the other day, and you're not in that world, so now you can't relate. It's like, it's just so weird.
Yeah.
So weird. So I don't know what's happening to society,
God.
but
we were talking about it before we started the podcast, where I was just like, everything's gotten a little too meta, and it's like freaking me out, and it's just like too much. It's so much, and we're, you know, I think all of us younger people and older people, you know, just growing up hearing about how technological advancements are exponential. Like, they increase at an increasing rate. And so once innovation starts happening, it just keeps like going up, 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 up. And I never really felt that until probably the last like year and a half. It's been insane. Like, I am disturbed. Like, for the first time in my life, I'm like genuinely like disturbed by it, because I was young enough to kind of acclimate pretty quickly to Instagram, you know, FaceTime, you know, the stuff that seems kind of like futuristic, you know, especially FaceTime was like, what? Or like, you know, when every device started getting a camera on it, and like just all of that, you know, like those things felt crazy at the time. But I was
12 megapixel flip phone cam
or webcam that's 4K
or 4K webcam.
It's tiny. And, you know, it's so I was young enough to acclimate to most of those things, even though they seemed very kind of far-fetched and crazy. But I think finally I'm like at this point where I'm like, I can't keep up, and I don't know if I want to keep up. Like, it is, it is insane right now. And I don't like, I'm not too much of like a fear monger or anything. And it's not that I think it's going to destroy the world or anything. It's just like, I don't want to be a part of it. Like, I'm so tired of social media already, and it's only been, you know, in the grand scheme of my life, I haven't really been on it that long. I'm just like, so, oh my God. I was talking to my mom about it. I was like, you know, for me, it's been like about half of my life has been like social media is the main form of like communication, you know, expressing yourself, putting yourself out there, selling stuff, like just everything, like all over the place. And it's just like, that's so much of my life. And like, I can't, like, the rest of my life is going to be like that. You know, where my mom, for example, it's like her life is about half and half, you know, half with social media and stuff, half without. And for us, it's like, it's sometimes hard to remember what it was like before. You know, it's like you remember, but it's like,
I had Facebook.
Yeah, it's like, so you remember the more, like, the times where, a lot less people had it.
Facebook wasn't shit back then. To be fair, it was like not a thing hardly.
Yeah, I remember it being kind of like, what? Like, what is that? Like,
it was not. I am pretty grateful that in high school it was not a main focal point of anything at all. It was just like you either were or weren't friends with people on Facebook, and that was kind of it. Like,
well, and what's crazy is, so Tim and I are 6 years apart. So he graduated in 2012. I graduated in 2017.
Yeah.
And just in that time alone, like, he was like, I'm glad social media wasn't like this huge part. For me, it was everywhere, and it was everything.
That's when it blew up.
That's how you got revenge on your exes. That's how you, like, threw shade at people. That's how you propped up your own life and made yourself sound great. That's how you, like, told anyone about anything, you know. And for me, that was hard for me to keep up with, because I just wasn't really that person. Like, it was really tough to just, like, do that, because I never really, like, wanted to, you know.
That sounds horrible. I'm so sorry to everybody who has
rough.
to do that at school.
Yeah, it was the time. Because
you're a kid. You shouldn't have to do that. If you're an adult and you want to network with people online and whatever, I think that's fine. But I think it is an absolute tragedy that kids have to deal with that exact thing.
Yeah. Your nudes being leaked online. Shit about you being leaked online.
It's
like,
so
just
crazy.
Unbelievable stuff that, like, I feel like we've talked about, like, a human should not have to put out, like, deal with. Like, having your life on display like that is so, I feel like your brain can't even wrap around that like millions of people have seen this really embarrassing video of you, or, like, you know, whatever. It's like, you shouldn't even be in contact with that many people ever in your life, you know, like, and especially for kids, it's just like, and I mean, I kind of grew up in that weird time, like we've talked about, where it's like, you know, I was a kid, like, you know, 7 to 12 years old, when YouTube was like the freaking Wild West, you know, like, no regulation, no nothing. Like, it was, you posted whatever you wanted. The internet did not have censorship yet.
Yeah.
And then once things started getting censored, like, I was a teenager and, like, growing into an adult, but that's when, like, Snapchat was really big and Instagram was really big. And, like, again, like I said, all the things that come with that are so, like, just overwhelming. It's just like, oh, and then I just can't even imagine now, because it's like, I grew up in a time where, like, I saw some, like, messed up shit on YouTube and, like, you know, whatever, but it was like real, you know. And I know that sounds really weird, because I definitely was scarred by some stuff, but it's like, nowadays it's like all this weird, like, fake, like, cartoon bullshit, and, like, all these influencers, like, I can't even imagine being, like, a 10-year-old watching, like, a group of influencers, like, live in a house together. Like, just such a, like, kind of, like, like the Hype House type thing, where, like, Jake Paul, like, set a fucking mattress on fire, like, in his house or whatever the fuck. I don't even know. I don't know what that all was about.
So you're saying you still watch groups of influencers?
No, it's just one of the things.
Remember that one time? Oh, no? Like, okay, yeah, no, me either, actually.
All I remember is there was a fire and, like, a pool, I think. I don't know. But, you know, just, like, thinking of the type of, like, artificial stuff that, like, kids are being shown right now.
Especially, I think, I feel like maybe what you're trying to say, but how I'm hearing it too, is like the just completely irrelevant, dumb, unnecessary. Yes. This is just absolutely ridiculous. Like, literally nonsense. For you to click, because your lizard brain is going to, like, see movement and be like, what is going on? You know, like, the videos of, like, don't get me wrong, I love a good, like, oddly satisfying video, but I'm like, well, no, that's different.
I'm an adult with a grown brain.
I think that's actually different, because that, like those people and those types of influencers, they get to a place where they're not they're literally not doing anything except doing the most ridiculous thing possible.
Yeah.
Because it's so ridiculous, no one would ever do it. Just so that they get likes and views. That's it. The end goal, because like, for instance, that's kind of a good example, because I feel like with those oddly satisfying videos, the point is to actually give you something satisfying. To a degree. It is to provide you with this like satisfying thing, which kind of sounds dumb, but with those crazy influencer people, the point is not to give you something at all. The point is for them to leech off of your attention.
Yeah.
For them to get likes and views and whatever that means subsequently. Like that is it. Yeah. That is it. And I would even argue that people like Jackass or whatever, who would arguably did stupid, dumb, irrelevant stuff, they were doing it for your entertainment.
Yeah.
It still was for you.
I
feel like these influencers and shit, their only thing is just to do the next biggest thing to stay relevant so that they can leech off
it's
of
all
attention.
About the money. And like there was a time where, you know, YouTube and the internet was genuinely just like a bunch of people fucking around and like
and it was
having
just fun.
And then all of a sudden people started making money and people were like, holy shit, like this is a thing.
Yeah.
You know, but like for a while, it was just expression. And then something like Jackass, like MTV was like, yo, we want this. Like I just watched a documentary on Jackass. It's like super cool. But like they weren't doing it to make money. They were doing it because they were fucking idiots.
They weren't doing it to get
they just
attention.
wanted to entertain, and they were just having fun.
Because that stuff, you can just tell when you see that type of thing where it's like your only goal is to hit the algorithm in order to whatever. And again, even to a degree where I feel like somebody like Mr. Beast, who is like really good at hitting the algorithm and knows what's going on, he's still not doing it out of a place of self-relevancy. He's doing it out of a place of entertainment. He's doing it out of a place of providing value. But we do have this breed of people out there, and that's what they're, little fucking gremlins. They're fucking attention gremlins. It's fucking dumb.
Yeah, well, and it's scary because it's like, I think partially what I was trying to say is like, for when we were growing up, a lot of content was, at least that you saw on TV, was like intended for educational purposes. If it was meant for kids, it was like intellectually stimulating for children, visually stimulating, you know, taught you lessons, that kind of stuff. And I'm just like scared because it's like, I don't feel like there's...
What kind of brains in people are we going to get from watching Logan Paul?
Like nothing, because it's almost impossible to determine if something's educational or not when it's coming from just like some creator on YouTube. Even if they do make content for kids and it's on the kids' YouTube app and whatever, it's like there's no one's regulating that. And I don't know if, I mean, I think anything regarding children should be regulated. That's like the one place where I'm like, like you gotta make sure kids are like getting the enrichment that they need, you know? And so, it's just like, man, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that are wanting to educate kids, and I'm sure there's plenty of great channels, but they don't get the engagement that the absurd channels do. Right,
because kids can't help it because kids have always just been whatever's the most interesting.
Yeah, of course.
And so it's not their fault. It's never the kids' fault.
No.
Kids are innocent. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
But it's just ridiculous. And I think the only thing I have faith. I do. I keep faith for humanity. I think everybody in their own generation, I think I said this right before we started the podcast, whatever, like, people now are like, who would have a kid now? You can't bring a kid into a world that's like this. And it's like, they said that in World War II probably.
Yeah, I'd probably pick this world over World War II world.
They probably said that during the Black Plague in the Middle Ages, like humanity keeps trucking along, so we're going to be fine basically. But, you know, I think that the one thing that I could see happening potentially is, and we're rapidly approaching it, but having so much fucking dumb shit out there that kids, it only takes a little while, and we're probably going to have a whole generation of kids who are like, we should read books and fucking
there's gonna
do
be a
shit in the world,
for
you know,
sure.
because like fuck the internet and fuck, you know, whatever, because that's just dumb. Like, what if we just like lived in our own communities and had social relationships with people? Like,
I think a lot of Gen Z is there. Like, there's a lot of Gen Z people that I'm hearing talking about it.
I think
I'm there.
No, I think that the Zoomers get a lot of shit for a lot of reasons, but again, I don't think a lot of it is their fault. And to a degree, I don't think it's their fault that they're that way. And a lot of it has to do with the internet and growing up in this, hyper technological age. But I do think that there's probably going to be a generation that's like, just starts to get over it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and
starts to level out.
Yeah, the pendulum swings, and there's always been that kind of scary, almost like doomsday attitude to things that we don't understand.
People want, every generation's like, it's the end.
We want, like, there is a thing about like humans wanting the world to end. It's like a really interesting.
Is it that topic. They want to, or that they're just always afraid that it's going to?
It's the like almost morbid curiosity, I guess. Like there's that fascination with like doomsday preppers and like the zombie apocalypse and all of that. But I was gonna say like there have been so many times in history where people thought that something was gonna like ruin everything. Like there was a time where people thought the internet would like make books obsolete, and it's like, no, reading books is nowhere near obsolete. What are you reading them on? You could read them on a Kindle, but there's still plenty of bookstores out there. People thought it was like the end of libraries. They were like, like no one's gonna read, everyone's gonna be stupid.
And I'm sure whenever the first telephone came out, people were probably saying something about that.
There was a whole thing about like
books,
not having to write
first
letters.
Invented.
Yeah, when books were invented, like just how we talked about with I don't think we talked about it on the podcast, but when cameras came out, like people thought that painters were gonna like be out of business because painters were basically like they took but instead
they were like, it's not fair.
Yeah, they were like, oh, we're the ones making portraits of people and taking pictures of things, quote unquote pictures, and it's like little did they know that this technology that could take the mundane photos opened a door for them to be unbelievably creative,
right?
With abstract art.
You don't have to sit down
modern
and paint
art.
These stupid rich people.
You can paint whatever the fuck you want because there's a camera doing the boring shit for you.
Right. Go to Sears, get your pictures taken.
Yeah.
In the meantime, you can create the most insane art anyone's ever thought of.
Yeah. And so it's like in ways like that, I have a lot of hope that it's like, no, it's not the end. And I think we talked about that in one of our other podcasts where we talked about AI, where it's like, it could open a lot of doors for people and give people a lot more free time and like take them away from the mundane, like bookkeeping and fucking all the reporting bullshit and all of that. Like it's gonna get rid of some jobs and stuff, but at the same time it's gonna open this whole other door.
It does. Yeah. Every closed door opens a new one. And I think especially with the AI stuff, people are just I think it's absolutely stupid. I think it's so dumb that people are like, AI is going to become sentient and take over. I'm like, you just get a grip, dude. I think it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But the thing that people like seem to exclude out of that is like, we're still here. We're the ones. Like we're gonna need, like, I don't know. It's just so dumb to me.
Well, and we are the creator of it. I think that people forget that. It's like humans created it. Like there's only so much, like, I don't know. That's a whole existential debate, and it's so like complex and everything. But it's like, I firmly believe that if you create something, you can control it. Does that make sense? I don't know. That's so tough. Because it's not true. Damn it. I don't know.
I don't think that's totally true, but I think that I think talking about AI in that way always, for me at least, brings into like a huge philosophical debate about what is consciousness and what is life. And for me, I think it's absolutely ludicrous to think that humans are just biological computers. I think that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. But people think that, and people think that our brains are just little computers, and we just, are computing functions at a high value, and once AI gets to the point that it has enough sensory input as we do, then it'll become sentient like we are.
Well, and it's worth consideration. Like it's worth considering that, like, on a strictly biological level, we are computing all the time. We are technically computers, and a lot of the
that part's true, but I personally just believe that there's more to a human than the physical.
Oh yeah,
that's why I take that, and I understand how people can't just take that and run with it or believe that, and I don't blame you for not believing that or thinking that at all, because we all have our own convictions about stuff. But to me, in my own life, for my own personal anecdotal experience, it's very obvious to me that I'm not just a biological organic computer. And so for me, it's ridiculous to think that a computer that we made with ones and zeros, that we tell what to do, is going to spontaneously turn around and not only be like, I am conscious and I have my own wants and needs, but then also say, I'm going to kill all of you. Because that's why it's a big deal, is because people are always like, they're going to turn around and kill all of us.
Yeah, it's like, why would they do that?
Projecting
it's kind of like,
much?
Yeah, right. It's kind of like with aliens, where people are like, oh my God, they're going to come here and kill us all. It's like, what alien race would just do that?
Again,
like,
we're just so afraid.
I'm like, would we do that? Like, I'd like to think
we do that.
I mean, we do that here.
I think that's the problem, is we do that.
Like,
so we project that onto everything.
Yeah, humans are fucking evil. Like, you know, we're kind of just not, we're not the most, like, you know, selfless creatures, you know? And so I think that, we project that onto everything else, because we've seen how many, you know, people have gotten into great power and just start fucking killing people or like conquering lands. And we just assumed that every other being would do that. And it's like, no, probably not.
Well, and maybe AI could be the best thing that's ever happened to us, because some of the things that I've heard that I am excited for if they came to be were that AI could start solving lots of issues that on a large scale that we deal with, and start, you know, this huge insolvable problem of grand scales of poverties in third world countries, and ecological issues with the balance of resources and food and pollution, and what, like, if it could help start to solve a lot of these grand scale issues in ways that would take us way too long to figure out, we could start to move toward a civilization where we don't need to conquer anymore. We don't need to be at war anymore, which, you know, I'm not sure we ever really did, but we don't need to do that anymore. It's like we can, you know, become a much more peaceful society with the help of this technology that we made, you know?
Well, and I think that the hard part about that, and the reason why people are so afraid of AI, is it's always the people who are like, very convinced that this is all that there is, you know, and kind of living in the like game of life. Like, I feel, I can't speak for other people because I've never been another person, at least knowingly, but like, I'm over here just like, I don't think about the shit that people talk to me about. They're like, can you believe this, like, political thing? Can you believe this thing going on? Like, the news said this, whatever. I'm like, I don't, like, the world is a show.
Yeah.
And like, whether that means something nefarious or literally just like, this is just kind of a state of being, you know, whatever it means for you. Like, there are people that this is it. And this is like, almost, I feel like saying that AI is equal to you is like very belittling to who you are. 'Cause it's just like, no, like the fact that you can't even feel that like you're different, you know? Some people would say that's like the ego of being human or whatever. I don't know.
Again, huge philosophical debate.
Yeah, but I'm one to like kind of see all sides of the whole thing, like I always have, where I'm like, like in the world where we are biological computers, there's not that much different between us and AI. But then on the flip side, if this is just one state of our mind experiencing itself, you know, it's like, no, AI is not the same.
No.
Like, we are like, the universe experiencing itself created something that is not the same, you know, like it's very, it can, and that's the two like big ends of the spectrum and then everything in between, you know? And so, yeah, or we're just in a simulation. Who knows? We're already in an AI simulation.
Next podcast, are we in a simulation?
Tim and Tori try to prove that we're in a simulation.
We should go back and listen to all the times I've said next podcast. And get a bunch of podcasts.
I know. We both do that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a scary time, but I've always been one to kind of have more hope in everything. I think
hope and faith. I think that's where I'm at. I think that's where we're at.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at thinking of the worst case scenarios, but I think I'm like embracing the stoicism more a little bit now. I'm like, I'm extremely talented at picking out the worst case scenarios, or just they organically come to me, and I'm learning to like be okay with that and then move on. You know, and be like, well, I know that could happen, and if I'm okay with that happening, then any other outcome is fine, you know? So, essentially, stoicism in a 2-second nutshell. But, yeah.
I like it. Well, I'm pretty good wrapping up there. What do you think?
Yeah, it's been really good. It's been really good.
I enjoyed this podcast.
Having a lot of fun, and I'm glad you got to share your Valorant story. It was really inspiring to watch, and it was really hard to watch. It was very inspiring. It was I think it built our relationship a lot, you know.
It did.
Supporting each other, and you inspired me, and, you know, I helped kind of, I guess, like comfort you in the hard moments and everything. But yeah, it was a really cool experience to be there. And when it finally hit gold, I was like,
yeah, it was crazy.
Oh my God.
It was definitely crazy.
It was crazy. I was very glad that I got to be there when it happened, because sometimes you'd game like there. When I was gone, like I was out of the house, and I was like, I swear to God,
you turned around and I was like, it's happening.
I was like, I swear to God, if I'm out like shopping or some bullshit when he hits gold, I'm gonna be so mad.
No, it was awesome.
So, yeah, it was perfect.
Well, if you hit gold in Valorant, or are a gamer or an artist or a social media influencer and want to hit us up, or an AI bot, hit us up. All social media at StuckTogetherPod.
Yep.
And stucktogetherpod@gmail.com. Questions, comments, concerns, feedback. Tell us you love us. We love you too.
Everything. Yeah.
And we'll see you on the next podcast.
All right. Bye, guys. We love you.